My life shattered when my billionaire boyfriend's mom rejected me, then I proved her wrong. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with tension as I walked into that opulent mansion. Every detail screamed wealth: the marble floors, the glittering chandeliers, and the priceless art. But none of it mattered to me. My heart raced, thumping in my chest like a heavy drum. I scanned the room, searching for him. He was my anchor, but in that moment, it felt like I was drowning. Then I saw her. His mother, standing like a statue with a cold stare, cutting through the warmth like a winter's wind. Her designer dress seemed to mock me, the gold threading shimmering with disdain. I felt every eye in the room shift toward me, whispers floating like ghostly fingers brushing against my skin. I could hear snippets of their judgments, the low murmurs that felt like daggers. Who does she think she is? She'll never be good enough. The lump in my throat grew heavier. Back in my small apartment, I could only dream of such grandeur. I had built my life on grit and determination. I fought for everything I had. I grew up in a humble town where dreams often faded into the shadows. But there I was, facing the woman who held my future in her hands. Her smile was tight, brittle as glass. "You're not what we had in mind for my son," she said, words dripping with venom. Each syllable was a punch to my gut. I wanted to cry, but I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Trembling, I nodded, forcing a smile through my burning humiliation. That it was a swift rejection, and yet I could feel the seeds of determination planting themselves deep within me. I had come too far to turn back now. I didn't just want to be accepted, I needed to prove to her and to myself that love trumps all. The days that followed were a mix of heartbreak and resolve. I buried myself in work. I read everything I could about wealth management, knowing that if I understood their world, I'd find a way in. My fingers moved across the keyboard with a furious energy, my heart pounding with each click. This was my fight. But did I have what it takes? Each night, I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I could truly change their minds. Now, standing before her, eyes blazing, I questioned everything. What kind of strength lay within me? Was it even worth it? I refused to let her define my worth. I would rise above this, I would show them all. Then came the call. My chest tightened as the phone buzzed like an angry bee. It was an offer I never saw coming, gone opportunity that could change everything. But it was also risky. I could either dive into the unknown or back away from the fire. My mind raced, battling doubt and hope in a dizzying whirl. What waited on the other side? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of that phone call lingered in the air, pushing against my chest like a heavy anchor pulling me down. The voice on the other end had spoken of opportunity, of a chance to enter the world I'd been desperately trying to understand. But along with that, there was a threat, a looming uncertainty that came with taking this leap. Would I truly be welcomed, or was I walking into yet another chamber of judgment? I paced my small apartment, the walls closing in like the hallway of that mansion. Memories of that night filtered through my mind, the disappointment in her eyes, the whispers that stung like bees. My heart raced as I held the phone tightly, torn between the promise of change and the fear of failure. What if I couldn't handle it? What if her disdain only grew deeper? As I wrestled with the choice, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow that filtered through my window. In that moment, I recalled something my grandmother used to say: sometimes, you have to step into the shadows to discover your light. But shadows were still just that, unfamiliar, uncomfortable. I had built a life in the sunlight, where I had to fight and claw for every inch. With a deep breath, I decided. I would take the chance, but not without setting my own terms. This wasn't just about proving my worth to her, it was about reclaiming my power. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, feeling a strange mix of excitement and dread. I brewed a strong cup of coffee, the rich aroma grounding me. Something stirred in my gut, a small ember of hope fueled by my determination. I spent the day preparing for what could potentially be my new life. I bought a simple blazer that I imagined could transform my appearance from the girl next door into someone who commanded respect, even if I had no idea if it would work. I spent hours reviewing financial documents while reminding myself how far I'd come, how hard I fought to put myself through college and land a job that felt so out of reach just a few years prior, but the more I learned, the more I felt like an imposter. As I scrolled through LinkedIn accounts of millionaires and moguls, I felt every achievement of theirs echo painfully in my mind. They had the connections, the families built on legacies. I felt small, lost amidst the grandeur of their accomplishments. Suddenly, the phone rang again, startling me from my reverie. It was Jake. His voice filled the space around me, soothing yet urgent. "Hey, you okay? I noticed you've been a little distant." "I'm just busy," I replied, forcing a smile he couldn't see that he paused, and I could sense the tension creeping in. "You can tell me if something's wrong," you know that I hesitated. What could I say? That I was terrified I wasn't enough? That his mother's words haunted me? "I'm fine, really," I managed, dismissing the truth that weighed me down. That he sensed the untruth as well, but didn't press on. Instead, he invited me to a charity gala he was attending that weekend. "You should come with me. It'll be fun, and I know you've always wanted to experience this side of life." A rush of anxiety flooded through me. The idea of mingling with his world, the one I was desperate to enter but terrified to confront, sent shivers through my spine. But in that fear, there was also a flicker of opportunity, a chance to slip into that world on my own terms. "Okay," I found myself saying, caught in the excitement of his invitation yet overwhelmed at the prospect of putting myself out there again. As the days flew by, I prepared for the gala like it was a pivotal battle. I chose my outfit carefully, a simple yet elegant dress that hugged my curves and felt like armor against the stares I anticipated. I practiced my smile in the mirror as if readying a shield against the judgment I feared would rain down upon me. The night of the gala arrived, and stepping into that lavish venue felt like standing at the edge of an abyss. I took a deep breath, gathering all the courage I had left. Jake's hand found mine, offering warmth and steadiness. As we pushed through the crowded foyer, glimmers of joy flickered like stars against the backdrop of wealth. Laughter and music wrapped around us like an embrace. But before long, I saw her, the woman who had shattered my confidence with just a few words. She stood, as always, regal and poised, her cool gaze sweeping through the crowd. My heart dropped. This wasn't just a charity event, this was an examination of everything that made me me. I felt Jake's grip tighten around my hand, grounding me in that moment. "Just be you," he whispered, as we stepped forward, but in a sudden twist, Jake's mother locked eyes with me, her expression revealing surprise, perhaps curiosity, but certainly not welcoming. My breath hitched in my throat as I stood frozen. What was it about the glint in her careful gaze? Then, in a move that sent shockwaves through the room, she approached us. "I wasn't aware you were attending," she said coolly, eyes narrowing slightly as she examined me, as if trying to gauge where I fit into the picture. "Am I not welcome?" I managed, the words escaping in a rush of melody tinged with defiance. Her lips curled in what could have been a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Not at all. I simply didn't realize my son would prefer your company over mine." In that moment, I felt stripped bare, vulnerable under her scrutiny. Yet, within me, the embers of defiance ignited. I had come to show myself worthy, and I wouldn't let fear consume me. Just as I was about to respond, Jake interjected, "Mom, I want you to meet someone important to me." My heart raced, anticipation mingled with dread. Would this be the moment of reckoning, or a slow descent into another layer of rejection? And that was when Jake's father stepped forward, his voice booming over the crowd. All of you, come. We're about to announce the biggest project of the year." In an odd twist, I was swept along, but fate had a strange way of pulling strings. Just as they turned to unveil the new project, a sudden silence blanketed the room. Something in the air crackled with electricity. My heart dropped into my stomach when I caught a sudden whisper, frantic and urgent, passing through the crowd. "There's a scandal, you won't believe it." My instinct kicked in. I needed to know. But before I could pull away from the circle of familiar faces, something deep inside my gut steeled me. Maybe tonight would not only change my life but the lives of those around me in ways I couldn't yet comprehend. What new challenges lay ahead? The mixture of hope and uncertainty brewed again, and I could only grip tightly to Jake's hand. Would we remain together, or was this the beginning of the end? Above all, would I finally find a place to belong, or would I be cast back into the shadows once again? As the announcement began, I felt the threads of fate swirling, ready to pull me into a new reality I had yet to discover. The atmosphere in the gala abruptly shifted, the fraught tension palpable as murmurs cascaded through the crowd like an unrelenting tide. I could sense the anticipation clawing at the air, and despite the warm glow of the chandeliers overhead, a chill wrapped around me, tightening like a noose. Every fiber of my being urged me to flee the spotlight, to melt into the background where safety existed amidst the chaos, but Jake remained by my side, holding my hand with unwavering strength, as whispers of a scandal fluttered through the room like leaves caught in a tempest. I could see his face twist into concern, his eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for the truth behind the growing unrest. The spell had been broken, and we were thrust into a spiraling unknown with no way back. "Do you want to step outside?" he whispered, his voice laced with a soothing warmth that contrasted sharply with the icy uncertainty inside me. I opened my mouth to respond, but a sudden flash of something fear, perhaps, danced across the chiseled face of his mother as she stood frozen in place. At that moment, the tension had shifted. She was no longer merely scrutinizing me as an intruder but had become embroiled in something deeper, darker. "No, let's stay," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The thrill of the unknown beckoned, taking root beside the shaky anxiety. Perhaps this was my moment, not just to prove my worth to her but to step into whatever awaited us on the other side of this tumult. The moment stretched indefinitely as Jake's father, his authoritative voice cutting through the uncertainty, began to recount the accomplishments of his company with pride. Yet beneath his polished exterior lingered an unmistakable vulnerability, one that made the crowd lean in, desperate for more than just business accolades. Anxiety swirled, alive and pulsating, as if the entire room was teetering on the edge of something monumental, but it was her reaction that shocked me. The subtle flicker of regret that crept into his mother's gaze as she listened to her husband speak. I wasn't sure what it meant, but it sparked a profound curiosity within me. Had the powerful matriarch realized, amidst her judgment, that she too had once been a girl in the shadows, seeking her own light? Just as I considered the notion, her sharp eyes snapped to mine, and I witnessed uncertainty grapple with the hardened facade she so expertly maintained. For a brief moment, it felt as if I caught a glimpse of a woman I could only imagine, one struggling with demons hidden beneath designer fabrics. I saw not just my rival but a kindred spirit battling expectations, and then came the bombshell. An aide rushed to the stage, breathless. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's been a major development regarding the upcoming merger," he stammered, the excitement electrifying the air. "A major investor has pulled out." Gasps rippled through the crowd like wildfire, igniting a series of frantic discussions. The world of wealth and power felt on the brink of collapse, and suddenly, I was no longer just an outsider engulfed by uncertain emotions but an unwitting participant in a drama far more significant than my little life. "What does this mean?" I murmured, turning to Jake as trepidation seized me. "Is your family okay?" The tension creased his forehead, and he stayed silent for a moment before nodding, but his grip tightened around my hand. "We will be. They always find a way." As if summoned by my concern, Jake's mother stepped forward, her regal poise cracking as her husband continued to speak to the panicked attendees. In an ironic twist of fate, her gaze fell on me, caught somewhere between the very world I was desperate to become part of and the chaos that threatened to unravel it. I felt a weight settle on my shoulders, an unspoken challenge dancing between us. In that second, surrounded by glittering jewels and silken gowns, everything in me cried out for clarity. Would she truly welcome me into her world, or was I simply a pawn in this unfolding drama? Listen, I said, heart racing, my courage swelling. If there's anything I can do. Her eyes widened, stunned, as if she saw me, truly saw me for the first time. A flicker of something, maybe understanding, maybe reconsideration, passed over her visage. For the first time, I sensed vulnerability beneath her polished surface, a subtle crack that might allow a human connection amidst the whirlwind of tragedy. But before she could reply, Jake's father announced, "We have to come together as a family and protect what we've built. This is only the beginning." The room erupted into chaos as attendees scrambled for their phones and whispered frantically about what this meant. Amid the clamor, all eyes pinned down to Jake's powerful family name, both revered and feared. I stood there, one foot lingering on the brink of acceptance and the other slipping further from the security I had clung to. Then, as my insecurities mounted, my phone buzzed in my pocket, breaking my focus. I glanced down, heart racing as I saw the name, Lisa, my childhood friend. She never called unless it was urgent. I answered quickly, "Lisa. Is everything okay? What I'm about to tell you, it changes everything. It's about your past, things you never knew." Her voice trembled, layered with urgency. In that moment, time froze, and all eyes were on me, waiting to witness the emotions that danced across my face. The weight of her revelation hovered, teasing my ears, and suddenly, it felt as if my entire life was poised on a knife's edge. What had I buried? What truths were waiting to unravel? And more importantly, how would they impact the delicate threads I was now weaving with Jake and his family? A flicker of bravado surged through me as a new reality started to take form, one filled with unprecedented challenges and uncharted hope. I tightened my grip on Jake's hand, feeling the unbreakable bond tether me to this moment. The shadows were deepening, yes, but so was the light. As Lisa's words hung in the air, an electric tension settled over me, mingling with the chaos swirling around us. I could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze, all eyes on me. The lavish gala, once glittering with anticipation, now felt like a stage for an unfolding tragedy I hadn't anticipated. My breath hitched as I struggled to process Lisa's fragmented message. The truths she hinted at remained tantalizingly out of reach. "Lisa, what are you talking about?" I asked, forcing myself to sound calm despite the turmoil within. "What do you mean, things I never knew? We need to meet." "It's about your family," she said, her voice lowered to a whisper as if she feared the walls had ears. "It's important." That I felt my stomach flip. Family. That word pierced through the confusion, awakening long-buried memories and unexamined truths. And in that moment, my past crashed into my present with unforgiving force. My heart raced, thrumming a rhythm of uncertainty. My family had always been a sketch in the background of my life, hazy and incomplete. The ones who had surrounded me as a child, only to drift into shadow as I grew older. I can't right now, I'm at the gala. I looked towards Jake, who stood handsomely composed but visibly distressed, a storm brewing in his cobalt gaze. "Can it wait? No, please listen. Your life, your past has connections to everything that's happening now. You need to know this." Her tone sharpened, urgency palpable. A moment's hesitation seized me. Was I ready to face the ghosts that haunted me? Would learning more about what I had tried to forget shatter the fragile construct of hope that had begun to build within me during these past few days? Could I let myself be swept into the very chaos I had feared, alongside Jake? "Well, I can't just leave," I whispered fiercely, emotion rising in my throat like bile. "Not now." Jake squeezed my hand tighter, sensing my unease. I looked at him, searching his expression for guidance, but the turmoil mirrored in his features only served to amplify the chaos within me. The murmurs of the crowd swirled like an ominous wind, but I had to make a choice one way or another. I knew my course would change irrevocably. "I'll call you later," I said decisively, even as doubt gnawed at my thoughts like an unwanted guest. I ended the call, the remnants of Lisa's words cascading in my mind like a storm threatening to upend everything. It felt as if the girl I used to be was glaring at me from the shadows, demanding to be acknowledged. The announcement from Jake's father continued to reverberate through the hall: unity, family, the preservation of status. The words swam around me, forming a thick fog that dulled whatever clarity I was clinging to. Jake's mother had stepped aside, attempting to shield herself from the growing chaos, but her eyes found mine every so often. I wasn't sure if it was anger, concern, or a blend of both, but I instinctively felt the unspoken challenge trapped between us, wanting to break free. "Let's find a quieter place," I said abruptly to Jake, needing to escape the crushing atmosphere and the weight of expectations. He nodded, an unreadable expression crossing his handsome features as he led me towards a small terrace just off the ballroom. The crisp night air met us like a balm, the distant hum of the city providing a refuge from the urgency inside. "I'm sorry about the call," I said, releasing a shaky breath as I stared at the vast expanse of shimmering lights beyond the gala, wishing life could be as simple as this view. "It's fine," Jake replied, but I could hear the undercurrent of tension in his voice. "Are you okay? You looked really shaken." The truth clawed at my throat. I wanted to be okay, to present a facade of resolve, but the fluttering panic within me told another story. "Not exactly. I just heard something that might change everything for me." "For us," I stammered, the weight of the double meaning hanging heavily in my throat. "The merger?" He probed, worry etching deeper lines on his brow. I shook my head, swallowing hard as I tried to find the right words. The laughter and chatter from the gala felt distant now, muffled like the beat of my heart as I steeled myself. "No, it's about my family, my past." "Lisa knows something." Jake stepped closer, searching my eyes. "What do you mean?" His voice was softened, an invitation to confide, yet I hesitated. What if the revelation spun me away from him? What if they pulled at the frayed edges of my self-worth that had begun to mend in his presence? "I don't know yet," I finally admitted, my voice trembling. "But whatever it is, I have to confront it. It feels bigger than me, bigger than us." The night air crackled as Jake's expression shifted from concern to something far deeper: resolve mixed with uncertainty, a determination that spoke of uncharted territory. "Then we will face it together," he said firmly, the warmth of his palm anchoring me against the uncertain tide threatening to crash over both of us. But just as I opened my mouth to respond, a figure appeared at the edge of the terrace. It was Jake's mother, her expression a mixture of authority and desperation. "I need to speak with you both," she said, her voice cutting through the air like a sudden gust of wind, leaving no room for refusal. The moment felt pivotal, a point where paths shifted and destinies hung in the balance. With her approach, the fabric of my burgeoning relationship with Jake seemed both fragile and fortified. Would this be a breakthrough, a chance for understanding, or a chasm that would further separate us? As our eyes locked, a billion unspoken words bore the weight of new fears, dark ties of the past, and the creeping shadow of an uncertain future. My breath quickened. At that moment, I knew that whatever she had to say would tilt the delicate equilibrium of our lives perhaps irrevocably. And as I faced the impending truth, I swallowed hard, realizing that despite my deepest fears, the unraveling that awaited could very well become the tapestry of connection I had long sought, even if it came at an unimaginable cost. The air thickened with anticipation as Jake's mother stepped onto the terrace, her demeanor almost regal beneath the soft glow of the city lights. "We need to talk about what's happening back inside," she said, her tone clipped yet edged with an urgency that set my heart racing. I caught Jake's concerned glance, a mixture of apprehension and defiance in his cobalt blue eyes. This was the last thing we needed: more confrontation, more weight pressing down on the fragile bond we were trying to form amidst the uncertainty of our circumstances. "I don't think it's the right time," I began, my voice barely above a whisper. But she remained unmoved, her expression resolute. "There isn't a good time for revelations like the ones coming, but right now, we need to acknowledge the storm brewing above us. I can't let you both walk blindly into it," she insisted, her gaze shifting to me, probing yet vulnerable, revealing a sliver of concern that I had not expected. "Mom, please," Jake interjected, stepping closer to me. The warmth radiating from his stance bolstered my resolve. "Whatever it is, we can handle it together." Let her speak. That I took a deep breath, aware that this moment held both promise and peril. What's happening? Is it about the merger? No, she replied sharply, shaking her head. It's about more than that, much more. It's about family ties, history, and the secrets that have been buried deep within our lives. My pulse pounded in my ears. What do you mean? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though the tremor of fear laced through each syllable. Your family has a history intertwined with ours. You can't just brush it aside, she stated, frustration lacing her tone. There are truths that need to be unveiled, for your sake, for Jake's, and for both our futures. The weight of her words hung heavy between us, a taut string that threatened to snap. I felt Jake's hand squeeze mine, a silent promise that together we could weather whatever storm lurked in the shadows. But with each passing heartbeat, I noticed an uncharacteristic vulnerability in his mother's gaze, something that hinted at shared histories and unfulfilled stories. What if my family isn't what I think? I asked, bravery colliding with dread. What if everything I believed is a lie? The flicker of hesitation that passed through her was brief but undeniable. That's what we have to face, Claire. Some ties are stronger than we realize, but they can also be the ones that bind us, she said softly, her voice now a careful offering rather than an accusation. Jake's grip tightened. We can handle this together, Mom. Whatever revelations you have, well, face them head on, he insisted. The fierce determination in his voice rekindled a flicker of hope within me. As she glanced between us, something softened in her expression. Then listen carefully. Your father, she hesitated, drawing in a slow breath. He had dealings with people that were complicated. Dangerous. My heart began to race as the shadows of my past loomed larger. Dangerous? What did that mean? The memories of my childhood, of secrets I had dismissed as mere whispers, surged forward, demanding recognition. What do you mean? I pressed, anxiety tightening my chest. Your father was a part of dealings that could jeopardize everything we've built. But this is not just about you anymore, Claire. The urgency in her voice deepened, forcing me to lean closer. It's about Jake. It's about all of us. That I felt as if the ground beneath me was crumbling into blackness. The peaceful facade of my existence began to crack, splintering under the weight of her revelations. Could the past really shape the present in ways I had never anticipated? Jake's fingers intertwined with mine, the heat of his touch grounding me. And what does this all mean for us? He asked, his voice steady yet laden with concern. It means you need to be prepared. I believe there are people out there who have a vested interest in both your families, those who will manipulate any weakness for their gain. I can't protect you unless you know what's truly at stake, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper, each word punctuated by the weight of dire consequence. Panic danced across my mind, igniting a whirlwind of thoughts. My family recollections buried just beneath the surface suddenly felt like a ticking time bomb. I could no longer ignore the truth, nor could I walk away from it. This was a battle I had not anticipated, but it was one I could no longer evade. What do we do? I asked, my voice quivering, resonating with the echoes of trepidation that filled the night. Jake squeezed my hand tighter, a lifeline amidst the storm. Whatever it is, we will face it together, he uttered fiercely, renouncing any hint of retreat. The realization dawned on me: here was vast potential for both heartache and healing in these entangled histories. The stakes were higher than I had ever imagined, entwining our lives in a manner I wished I could turn away from. But just as my thoughts took shape, a sudden commotion erupted from the gala behind us. The doors swung open, and an anxious buzz enveloped the terrace as people rushed toward us, eyes wide with alarm. I turned, the sight of the crowd drawing near coiling the fear in my chest tighter. Then someone stepped forward, their silhouette familiar, a face I never expected to see again. My heart dropped as recognition hit like a cold wave. It was Lisa, her expression a mix of urgency and dread, a reflection of the storm brewing in my own heart. Claire. You need to listen to me. It's about your father, it's happening again. She shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a desperate plea. The weight of her words settled over me, chilling my very bones. Everything I had just come to terms with now, it felt like the tide was rising, pulling me back into the dark waters of my past. Would this chaos unravel the fragile threads I had just begun to weave into my life, or would it be the catalyst that pushed me to confront my fears once and for all? The abruptness of Lisa's presence gripped my heart in a tight vice, her words echoing in my mind like an ominous drumbeat. I had barely begun to process the gravity of my mother's revelation when she stepped forward, igniting a new wave of chaos. The crowd behind her parted like the Red Sea, leaving me with the urgency of Lisa's plea hanging heavily in the air. "What do you mean, it's happening again?" I demanded, my voice steadying itself despite the tremors of dread coursing through me. Lisa's eyes widened, scanning our faces. "I can't explain everything here. You need to trust me. Things your father was involved in, they didn't just fizzle out. There are people looking for you, Claire." Tension coiled like a spring in my stomach, a frantic anticipation that ignited a silent panic. Jake, feeling the shift in my demeanor, stepped closer, his presence a shield against the unknown. "What do you know?" he asked her, his voice cutting through the noise of disoriented questions and frightened mutterings from the partygoers. "That I have proof. I thought it was over after everything that happened before, but there are whispers, deals being struck. They're looking for your family, Claire. It's all connected," she urged, urgency tipping her tone into a frantic crescendo. My heart raced. Every instinct screamed at me to retreat, to distance myself from the tumult, but in that moment, I felt bound to stand where I was. "We need to talk. Now." "Somewhere private," I insisted, perhaps wishing to shield our new reality from the prying eyes of those who, like me, were caught in an unraveling web. As the three of us stepped away, the escalating chatter from the gala turned into a distant hum, and the chilling breeze intertwined with the warmth lingering from the terrace lights, enveloping me in an unsettling embrace. I could feel Jake's hand squeezing mine tighter, the warmth grounding me against the rising tide of anxiety. "Claire, I'm scared," he confessed softly, tilting his head slightly to catch my gaze. In that fleeting moment of intimacy, I could see the uncertainty clouding his cobalt eyes, blending into a deeper kind of emotion. It was a gentle reminder that I was not in this alone, even as the world felt ready to swallow me whole. We found a secluded corner, away from the chaos, where the sounds faded, replaced by an eerie silence that heightened my awareness of every shallow breath I took. Lisa's expression was harried, her brows furrowed as she looked between us. "I never wanted to drag you back into this. I thought you were safe. But they're resurfacing, and this time I don't know how much danger you're really in." I could feel Jake tense beside me, a wave of solidarity coursing between us. "You need to explain everything, Lisa. Because we're not going to run from this." Lisa nodded, taking a moment to collect her thoughts. "Years ago, when you were just a child, your father got involved with some powerful people. People who don't just walk away from unfinished business. I overheard discussions during those tense evenings, the kind that would make anyone consider moving across the country to escape. But now, it seems, they want something back, and they think you know where to find it." A chill snaked its way down my spine. Those words sounded like a plot straight out of a thriller, a tale of deception, promises, and threats. Yet, they came from my life, me reality. But I don't know anything. I only have the fragments of memories. My dad, he always protected us, didn't he? "This can't be real, Claire," Lisa implored softly, "we have to be realistic. They might believe you hold the key to the past that your family has buried. I've seen things you wouldn't believe, and if they're thinking about coming for you." Her voice cracked, and it shook me to the core. "Then we do something about it," Jake interjected fiercely, determination lining his words. "Claire and I will figure this out together. If they want her, they'll have to go through me first." Fear mixed with admiration surged in my chest, a newfound strength blossoming despite the heaviness of our predicament. But even as I was buoyed by Jake's loyalty, confusion settled in like a restless ghost. What could we even do against something so cloaked in shadows? Lisa's phone buzzed, breaking the stillness. Her face dropped as she read the message. "I have to go. You both stay vigilant. Meeting someone to gather more information. With the flicker of urgency back in her eyes, she hesitated, casting a worried glance our way. Promise me to look after each other. Trust your instincts. I can't stress enough how important it is to stay connected. She slipped back into the glimmering crowd, but I felt the weight of finality cling to the space she had vacated. The exhilaration from the gala now felt bitter, gnawing away at the hope that had been nestled there only moments before. What had started as a night of discovery had transformed into something darker, something that crept ever closer, an abyss threatening to swallow me whole. Jake turned to me, the corners of his lips drawn tight with concern. Well, figure this out, Claire. I promise. You won't lose me to them. But as he spoke, the tremors of our reality sank their claws deeper, and an unsettling thought settled unbidden in my mind. What if the secrets of our families were not only entwined with each other but also intertwined with a cycle of danger and betrayal stretching back generations? Before I could voice my worries, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A shadow slipped through the throng of partygoers, moving closer, and I felt a chill not from the cold, but from an instinctual fear. Someone was approaching, and for the first time that night, I felt the looming shadow of fate brush against us, whispering secrets better left unspooled. As the figure stepped into the soft light, the anxiety in my heart bloomed into sheer terror. My breath caught in my throat at the sight, my world momentarily spinning in disbelief. Why here? Why now? It was someone I had never expected to see, an ominous connection to my past, someone who would connect the two families in ways that sent shockwaves through my entire being. I felt the ground shift beneath me as the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face I knew all too well, yet had convinced myself I would never have to confront again. It was Emily, my father's former partner, his confidant, and the one person who had vanished from our lives as abruptly as my father had. The shock of seeing her again was enough to make me stagger, clinging to Jake's arm for support, her eyes locked onto mine, a mix of nostalgia and regret swirling in their depths. Claire, she said, her voice an echo of the past, tinged with an emotion I couldn't quite decipher. It's been so long. Why are you here? I managed, my throat dry, words rushed and jagged. What do you want? I was surprised at the fire behind my words, a hint of defiance that surprised even me. Emily subtly glanced around the vibrant gala, her gaze skimming over the glittering decorations and oblivious guests. I came here for you, she finally said, her voice softening yet still threaded with urgency. There's so much you don't know, Claire. So much I wish I could explain, then start talking. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, breathless frustration bubbling to the surface as Jake squeezed my hand tighter, his presence growing more protective with each word exchanged. She took a step closer, lowering her voice. I know you think your father shielded you from the truth, but he didn't. None of us did. We thought keeping you away would keep you safe, but that's not how it works. There are forces at play. That she hesitated, her words teetering on the edge of a precipice. You need to know who you're dealing with. What do you mean? I asked, struggling to comprehend her cryptic message. What are these forces? And what does it have to do with me? Emily's expression hardened, as though she were bracing herself against a wave of truth. Your family's history runs deep within a network that transcends simple vendettas. It's buried in the deceitful layers that your father tried to protect you from. They're coming for you not just because they want something. There's a legacy at stake, Claire. A legacy that you have a right to claim. A chill swept through the air, wrapping around me like an icy shroud. My instincts screamed at me to take a step back, but I remained rooted in place, desperate for clarity amidst the chaos. My heart raced, each beat punctuating the silence that had enveloped our conversation. This is insane, Jake murmured beside me, but I could feel his resolve firming. You're saying that there's this secret world out there? Yes, Emily interrupted, her tone fiercely earnest. If you let them sink their claws into you, they'll tear your life apart too. Just like they did to your father. Just like they did to mine. For a moment, her gaze softened, a wellspring of emotion breaking through her steely facade. I could see the vulnerabilities she masked behind her purpose, and it disconcerted me. There was a sadness in her that echoed the pain I carried in my heart, remnants of a past I wanted to understand but feared delving into. "What do you want from me?" I finally whispered, my voice trembling. "Why now? Why not before? Because you are stronger now, Claire. There are answers out there that can reframe everything you've come to believe about your family's past. I want to show you and I can if you'll let me," she implored, her eyes glistening with something as potent as hope, and then, in that electric silence, the sound of a commotion erupted beyond our little circle. Frantic whispers ignited the gala, and as guests began to glance toward the source of the disturbance, I could sense a palpable tension snaking through the crowd. I glanced at Jake, who was now scanning the party, eyes alert. "What the hell is happening?" he asked, anxiety tightening his features. Before I could respond, someone broke through the throng, clearly agitated, eyes darting everywhere like a trapped animal. "Emily!" he called, his voice urgent and strained. The sight of him sent a stark shiver down my spine. It was a man whom I recognized from the whispers of family gatherings, spoken of in reverent, fearful tones. The very embodiment of the power my father had once sheltered us from. "John," Emily breathed, terror etching lines into her face as the weight of unspoken alarm pulsed between us. In an instant, the serenity of the evening shattered, and with it, the shreds of my quiet existence. The air crackled with foreboding as I understood, inevitably, that whatever this chaos was leading to, my life was about to be irrevocably altered. Who could I trust? And was it even possible to sway the course of the storm brewing around me? As John closed in, a suffocating dread coiled tight around my chest, bringing forth a singular, terrifying question: would uncovering the truth strengthen me, or plunge me deeper into the darkness entwined with my lineage? With the world spiraling toward an impending crisis, I gripped Jake's hand tighter, knowing whatever might happen next would shape our futures in ways we couldn't begin to understand. My heart raced as John approached, his magnetic presence pulling the attention of nearly everyone in the gala. The murmurs of the crowd faded into a low hum as if the whole world had turned its gaze toward him. Emily's face was a garden of emotions: fear, sorrow, and an anger that ignited as he drew closer. "Claire," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, filled with a sense of urgency that sent chills down my spine. "You need to trust me." "Trust you?" I echoed, glancing between Emily and the approaching figure of John. "You keep talking about trust and legacies, but what does it mean? What exactly is he to you?" My attempts at sounding firm faltered under the weight of anxiety that clenched my stomach. "John's the reason we had to stay away from you," Emily replied, her eyes wide and pleading. "He'll never let you discover the truth. You'll be in danger if he finds out you're aware." The mention of danger painted a vivid picture, tightening my throat and clawing at my determination. Was I really prepared to dive into this enigmatic world she was trying to unveil? Questions gnawed at me, teasing out remnants of doubt that I fought to suppress. "Emily." John's voice pierced through the clamor of the crowd, powerful and echoing, drawing nearer as the throng momentarily parted to let him through. His dark eyes were ablaze with intensity, a predatory glimmer that made my skin prickle. "We need to talk. Now." I looked at Jake, whose jaw was set in a determined line. "We need to leave," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos wrapping around us. "No," I insisted, stubbornly staying rooted to the spot. "I can't just walk away from this. Not now." Fear surged through me. If I was allowing myself to be drawn into something dangerous? But I was equally conscious of the gnawing curiosity swirling in the pit of my stomach. "Claire." John's voice sliced through the air once more, growing more demanding. "You don't understand what you're getting involved with." "Then enlighten me." I shot back, feeling emboldened by the moment. "If you want to shield me from something, maybe I deserve to hear it." I could feel the looks of the other guests on me, eyes flickering between us like moths drawn to flame, and in that moment, I realized how intoxicating that power was. The need to uncover buried truths. "Enough," Emily barked, her composure cracking. "He won't tell you everything, not willingly. You need to come with me." At that instant, an unexpected movement startled the crowd. One of the servers carrying champagne looked abruptly pale, her tray teetering, and then it happened a glass slipped and shattered on the floor, a loud sound matching the escalating tension. The guests gasped collectively, their expressions mirroring that of a burgeoning storm, nervous energy crackling in the atmosphere. "See what you've done?" John spat at Emily, his voice threaded with ill-concealed rage. "You're going to attract attention, and this isn't just a little party game anymore. You're playing with lives." I stood there, feeling like a piece on a chessboard caught between two competing players, both demanding my allegiance. The realization hit me with the ferocity of a tidal wave. I was inexorably tied to this web of intrigue, legacy, and danger. I shot a glance at Jake, whose hand still held mine tightly, grounding me as my anxious heart threatened to flee. "Let's get out of here." His whispered words made me shake my head instinctively. I didn't want to flee. Running felt so hopelessly inadequate. "We can't," I began, but Emily's pleading eyes caught me off guard. "Please, Claire. If you walk away, you may never learn the truth. You need to listen, to see what's really at stake. I can protect you, but only if you trust me," she implored, her voice trembling with desperation. Just then, the calculated chaos around us pierced the scene once more. A low rumble emanated from outside, and the lights flickered, accompanied by a sudden darkness that enveloped the room. Gasps filled the air as something sparked outside. A flash of red and blue colors danced through the glass windows, illuminating terrified faces. Instinctively, I turned to the crowd, searching for answers, as the reality of corruption that tore through my family began to loom larger than my mounting fears. Was it all connected? Was everything about to shatter completely? "Claire!" John shouted, his voice laced with urgency. "Come with me, and I can help you understand all of this. You're stepping into something that will change everything. And if you choose to be with her," he nodded toward Emily, "you will be swept into a darkness that has no boundaries." The gravity of his words pressed down on me like a storm cloud, heavy and oppressive. As chaos erupted around us, I felt a tingling awareness that however this played out, the coming revelations could either rebuild my sense of self or obliterate whatever semblance of safety I had left. "None of you get it," I said, barely above a whisper, yet firm enough to silence the noise around me as I looked daringly between John and Emily. "I'm not going anywhere. I will find the truth." And in that moment, I was reminded that sometimes, the hardest battles are fought within our own hearts. The stakes soared, and with each passing second, I could feel my life teetering closer to a precipice that didn't promise a safe future. Would I be bold enough to step into the dark? Or would the very shadows that loomed above suffocate my will to fight? The answers lay ahead, tangled in a web of uncertainty and secrets that would soon pull at every fiber of my being. The room still buzzed with confusion as the lights flickered back to life, revealing guests with ashen faces and lingering gasps. The weight of John's words lingered in my ears as I grasped the reality of my predicament. I was no longer a bystander in my own life. I had become a player in a game where each decision held the potential to plunge me deeper into a shadowy abyss. "Stay close to me," Jake whispered as we inched away from the crowd, almost as if he was trying to shield me from the impending storm. Though his presence was a comforting anchor, the fear in his eyes sliced through my resolve, making me question everything. Emily stood firm, her expression shifting rapidly as she caught the lingering tension in the air. "Claire, I know this is overwhelming, but you need to see the bigger picture," she insisted. "If you truly want to learn the truth, we can't stand here like deer in headlights." "Bigger picture?" I snapped, hurtling back onto the offensive. "You want me to abandon everything I know to follow you into a world of secrets? How can I even trust you right now?" John, taking a step closer, radiated an energy that was both terrifying and intoxicating. "I can help you, Claire. I can show you the paths my family has twisted, the enemies lurking in shadows. But you need to believe what I'm saying. This isn't just about us. It's about your safety." That I felt the weight of his stare pierce through my defenses, igniting the curiosity I both craved and feared. What did he really know? And why did I still feel drawn to him, even amid the swirling chaos around me? But before I could respond, the clamor of footsteps swarmed the entryway, and uniformed officers' bright flashes of authority in the dim ambience swiftly navigated through the crowd. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation and dread. "Everyone, please remain calm," shouted one officer, the tone commanding respect as he guided others through the room. "We are investigating a reported threat." My heart pounded in my chest. A threat? How was this all connected to a simple gala? Yet, in my gut, I already knew these supposedly independent threads were woven into a tapestry of betrayal. A sense of urgency crashed over me as I glanced back at Emily, who was now paler than before, her usual confidence crumbling. "What did you pull us into?" I whispered, the terror of reality revealing its face. "It's complicated," she stammered, stepping closer, a shred of desperation colored with vulnerability behind her guarded persona. "I didn't mean for all of this to happen. But you need to trust me now more than ever. My family, John's family, they've been in a battle far longer than you understand. We're dealing with more than just legacy, we're battling for survival." Just then, as if cued by fate itself, a commotion erupted near the windows. Someone gasped, and suddenly I found myself drawn toward the act. I own a dark black SUV parked at the curb, several shadowy figures emerging and yelling into the crowd. "Get back! Everyone, stay inside!" Another officer barked, but before anyone could react, the figures darted forward, their intentions shrouded in a haze of chaos. Panic rippled through the gala as guests stumbled backward, unsure of where to run. In the midst of it all, John's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist firmly. "This way!" he shouted, pulling me closer to him. With a rush of adrenaline, I instinctively followed him through the sea of confusion. But as we neared a side exit, Emily's voice called out desperately, "Claire, wait!" I hesitated, torn between the fiery need to push forward and the loyalty simmering beneath my skin. "You promised me answers," I yelled back, feeling the rift grow wider. "Just trust me, Claire," she implored, her eyes welling with tears that threatened to break the steely exterior. "Everything is connected. I can help you understand," but a crackle of gunfire echoed through the air, sending the crowd into a frenzy. I froze, my breath caught as adrenaline cascaded through my veins, forcing me to grapple with the dire moment at hand. Glimmers of hope emerged within the Chausan elderly woman pulsed forward, boldly gripping hold of a younger man's arm to keep him from falling as he tripped, and a guest handed off their cell phone to another, summoning emergency services amidst the pandemonium. But still, the overwhelming fear pressed against my chest, clouding every rational thought. "Claire!" John's voice echoed, pulling my attention back. The urgency roared back to life, and I made the decision to push ahead with him. As we dashed through the hallway, I dared to glance back, seeing Emily swallowed by the chaos, her figure barely perceptible now amid the swirling mass. A depth of regret grappled with me, clashing with the instinct to survive. We burst into the cool evening air, the cacophony of confusion fading behind us. But instead of relief, apprehension gripped me tight. Would I end up running away from the very truths I swore to uncover? But as we made our way toward the alley, the ground beneath me shifted, revealing the precipice of a deeper betrayal waiting to unfold just beyond the horizon. The darkness I had been cautiously leaning into began to pulse and breathe around me, a living entity waiting to expose its secrets, and I could hardly shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. What I had already chosen to accept could betray my very worth, and the line between ally and enemy grew thinner by the moment, leaving me with an unsettling question: was I truly ready to confront the very demons entwined in my existence? The alley was dimly lit, shadows stretching like fingers from the walls toward us as we stumbled out of the chaos of the gala. My heart raced, a wild drum echoing in my chest. Jake remained by my side, taut with tension, his eyes scanning the street as if the very air around us held threats lurking just out of reach. "Where do we go?" I breathed, still grappling with the overlapping realities I had just been thrust into. John had dragged me into this world, claiming it was justified, but my heart didn't feel the same certainty that wrapped around his words. "We can't stay here," he said firmly, glancing back toward the gala as if expecting the chaos to spill after us. "They'll come for you. We need to disappear." "Disappear?" My voice was thin, a threadbare tapestry barely holding together. And go where? We can't run forever. My resolve began to fray, an innate fear unfurling into a heavy cloak of despair. What if we just go back? There's no going back. He shot back, his tone sharp but layered with desperation. Not now. The draw in his eyes pulled me in, his fervor igniting a flicker of rebellion against the fear that coiled around me. The very real danger that we were in suffocated any desire to return to a life I once cherished, a life without secrets. It vanished like mist in the morning sun. Hiding won't solve anything, I murmured, piecing together the fragments of my courage. I refuse to keep running like a damned rabbit. This is my life, the right to know who I am, to uncover the truth. It weighs like a yoke on my heart. Jake turned to face me, his expression momentarily caught between astonishment and admiration. So, what do you want to do? I want to confront them, I replied, the conviction hardening my voice even as uncertainty brewed beneath my skin. I'm done being a victim in all this. If they're coming for me, I'll face them head-on. A surge of admiration flickered across Jake's gaze. You don't have to go alone, he insisted, taking a step closer. Whatever happens, I'll be right beside you. Good. Relief pooled within me like a bomb. I might be scared, but I wasn't alone. The two worlds tugging at my heart had suddenly blended into one. I refused to let anyone snatch that away. But the unknown loomed overhead like a gathering storm, reminding me that stepping into shadows was about to require a leap of faith and unfathomable courage. Just as I was about to consolidate my thoughts, the distant sounds of sirens shattered the murky veil of uncertainty between us. Panic ignited anew within my veins, and I turned to John, who stood several paces back and now observed us with an inscrutable expression. Are you going to help us or stand there playing the observer? I challenged, frustration creeping into my tone. Right now? It's about survival. I can show you the way, but you need to trust me. Why should I? I pressed, anger bubbling beneath the surface. His eyes seemed to flicker with momentary indecision, and for a moment, I saw a ghost of regret flash across his features. Because I know these streets, he replied, voice dropping as he took a cautious step forward. I have allies, ones that can protect you, but you have to let me guide you. If you stay out on your own, you'll be exposed. A part of me wanted to resist, to cling tightly to my sense of agency. The grip of fear begged me to retract my decision, to turn away from the dark shadows where danger thrived. But recalling my resolve, I drew a deep breath and nodded. Fine. Lead the way. As we turned to head deeper into the alley, I felt Jake's hand clasp mine once more, a reassuring tether I clung to as we moved into the unknown. The dimness around us shifted, forming a labyrinth of alleys where every corner concealed secrets. Yet with each step, I could feel my budding resolve glimmering brighter within me, and with it, a sense of purpose. Whatever lay ahead was no longer just a battle against my past but a quest for the truth I so desperately sought. Turning into another narrow side street, John paused and motioned us to follow him into a small, inconspicuous door leading to a dimly lit, shabby diner. The scent of grease hung heavy in the air from the kitchen, and I could see the sleepy eyes of the few patrons lingering over half-finished cups of coffee. Stay low and trust me, he whispered, glancing around as if ensuring safety lingered in every corner. Jake squeezed my hand tighter as we stepped inside, each step echoing with uncertainty. The bright fluorescent lights felt blaring against the shadows of the night I'd just run from, my heart a relentless thud in my chest. We're looking for Sylvia, John addressed the waitress, who offered him a disinterested look before returning to wipe the same spot on the counter for the second time. Backroom, she replied curtly, gesturing with her chin. Can't keep the devil waiting. As we made our way to the backroom, the atmosphere thickened, charged with an energy that felt palpable, swirling with the weight of hidden connections. I couldn't shake the image of the lives that lurked just out of sight, lives entwined in a complicated tapestry of secrets and shadows. The door swung open to reveal a modestly furnished room, dim, quiet, and in the corner sat an elderly woman, sharp-eyed yet gentle, curling her fingers around a steaming mug. "John," she nodded. "You came quickly." "This is Claire," he gestured, and I felt their eyes linger upon me with intensity. "Ah, the one caught in the unraveling threads. Sit, child." I glanced at Jake, whose expression mirrored my uncertainty, yet it was buoyed by a depth of intensity. Resolutely, I took a seat across from Sylvia, keenly aware of the power dynamics swirling just beneath the surface. "What do you know about your father?" she began, her voice low, each word carefully placed like stones in a mosaic. 1,000 memories swirled me: father's laughter, his steadfast protection, but almost immediately, the weight of lost truths pressed down on my shoulders like an anchor. "I barely know anything. Just fragments. Fragments can lead to illumination," she stated, her eyes narrowing with insight. "Your father made choices that ripple through generations. There are consequences. If you're here, you've stepped into a world he tried to shield you from, but sometimes the past can no longer be ignored." Fear swirled within me, along with the sobering realization that whatever had haunted my family had left traces in every corner of my life. "What do you mean?" Her gaze flickered between John and me before continuing, "You're not just a bystander in your family's legacy. You carry their marks, Claire, and who you choose to become is intertwined with their choices, even if they were made in selfishness." The words rang clear, echoing in my heart like a tolling bell. I could feel the tumult of ancestry roiling within me, tethered to a history that would not be silenced any longer, and I could no longer back away from the gnarled roots of danger rising at my feet. "What do I do?" I pressed, my fingers gripping the edge of the table. "Face them," Sylvia urged, her eyes fierce and bright. "Find your truth amongst the chaos. You have power, you need only to awaken it and determine how you will wield it." She spoke not just of generations long past but held a mirror to the very essence of who I was becoming. I could feel my resolve harden, weaving through the threads of bewilderment and panic. I wasn't just Claire, I was part of this legacy, and I would shape it instead of letting it shape me. With newfound determination coursing through every fiber of my being, I glanced at Jake, who met my unwavering gaze with all the strength I needed. "I won't let my family's past control me any longer," I declared, defiance igniting boldly in my chest. "I will uncover the truth and wield the power within me." As we shared that moment, an understanding solidified, a promise being formed between us, and with that, I accepted the shadows that whispered against my soul. I would step into the light and embrace whatever lay ahead. The battle would be fierce, but I could not avoid the confrontation. I was ready to face the storm gathering on the horizon, ready to take back the life that was mine for the taking. The last threads of uncertainty began to fray, and for the first time, I felt clarity wash over me. Amidst the chaos of threats and familial fissures, I would carve my own path. With every heartbeat, I felt alive, ready to dive headfirst into whatever awaited, but this time, it was on my own terms. And in reclaiming my strength, I would make them witness just how powerful a heart can be when awakened. "It begins now," I whispered, conviction threading through each word, a declaration that nothing would ever cast me into shadows again. Whatever truth awaited, I would embrace it. Together, we would confront the legion of darkness lying in wait and emerge anew. Together, we would uncover a legacy, battling every secret and braving the storm.